Hero of Mondstadt, Falcon of the West, and Dandelion Knight. Such are but a few of the titles used to refer to the one that fought for the freedom of Mondstadt, Vennessa, one whose tales are sung by the bards to this very day. They sing tales of glory in which Vennessa was able to unify the people of Mondstadt under the goal of overthrowing the tyrannical aristocracy that had brought upon suffering and ruin to their people. One girl with nothing but her will and charisma was able to make this dream a reality. Or did she? Was the blood and sweat of this Iron Maiden truly what freed Mondstadt from its captors as sung by the bards? Or is there a darker truth hidden behind the illusion of freedom? Having overthrown the Caribbean, Mondstadt had entered a new chapter in its story and relocated to Cider Lake under the guidance of its new deity, Barbatos. The Archon did not wish to rule over Mondstadt as his predecessor had done and chose to allow the city to govern itself. As such, after setting down a few safety measures by entrusting Dwalin, the Anemo dragon, and the remnant wolf spirit of Andreas, the former dominator of wolves, to protect Mondstadt, Barbatos would depart Mondstadt, fulfilling his promise to the people of giving them the freedom they so desired. In such a situation, the aristocratic clans of Mondstadt that were blessed with divine abilities rose to power and took on the duty of looking after and managing Mondstadt. The three most prominent clans of the time were of the Lawrence, Gunhilda, and Imanlaka bloodlines. They took up position at the head of Mondstadt and became its cornerstone and foundation. Swearing on their honor to protect the peace of Mondstadt, they rallied the support of the people and became synonymous to the rulers of Mondstadt. The statue of Barbatos seen in front of the Favonius Cathedral was known to be built during this time period by Vennessa, the then leader of the Lawrence clan. Festivals would be held in the name of Barbatos and the freedom won through a hard-fought victory. Nobles and commoners would work alongside each other and share the spoils of victory equally amongst each other. These festivals were held by the aristocrats with the intention of bettering the lives of the common folk. Yet, as time passed on, cracks would form between the aristocrats and the common people, as the will of man is weak to temptation, and there exists no limit to the greed and desire of the human heart. The events that followed would plunge Mondstadt into a state arguably worse than when it was ruled by the old Archon of Anemo, the Caribbean. However, to further expand upon the events that happened, I'd like to pass the baton to KlemenTime, a fellow YouTuber that makes awesome lore videos of similar nature to my own.
On the road bound to our exile, I watched my father sigh with grief at the betrayal of the people, at the end of a glorious era, at the final chapter of history. We watched the people who were once our subjects rejoicing in the open country as we bid farewell to our homeland. Only years later did I realize it was we, the Lawrence clan, who had betrayed and ended a glorious era of freedom. With us gone, Mondstadt is now free, as it always should have been. Entering what is referred to as the late Aristocracy period, we approach an age where the might of the Lawrence clan would outgrow that of the Gunhilda and Imanlaka clans. To include the Ragenvinder clan, the soon-to-be owners of the Dawn Winery didn't yet exist at this time. This imbalance in power would lead to the scions of the Lawrence bloodline seizing control over Mondstadt and becoming its sole rulers. This position of authority would change that once noble blood of the Lawrence clan to now be contaminated by greed and unsatiable desires. This corruption would lead to those of the Lawrence bloodline falling into degeneracy and eventually enslaving the people they once swore to protect. The suffering and harm brought upon the people of Mondstadt by the tyrants of the Lawrence would eternally carve itself within the very blood of the people. Those deemed a threat to the rule of the Lawrence clan would be enslaved and used for either labor or entertainment. The power of the church meant to spread good faith would instead be used as a tool to mislead the general public and keep them in the dark regarding certain events. Knowledge of the past, alongside relics of historic significance, would be wiped out and erased for the sake of protecting their interests. An order of knights titled the Starlit Knights would serve the aristocracy and carry out their evil commands. It was in a city such as this that the Dandelion Knight, Vennessa, would end up stumbling upon whilst traveling with her tribe. Seeking shelter in Mondstadt to escape the pursuit of Ursa the Drake, she and her tribe was captured and enslaved by the nobles of Mondstadt. In the tales passed down in history, Vennessa was made a gladiator in recognition of her strength and made to fight for her freedom against dastardly odds. An ironic situation for a city that earned its freedom through oppression and suffering to now be the one to administer the judgment. As the light grew dim and Vennessa's spark died down, with a gust of the wind, the Archon of Anemo would return. With nothing but his sheer might, he would set Mondstadt back on its feet. The nobles that led the city to its ruin were banished from the city and damned for eternity. A happy ending to a tragic story. Sadly, as beautiful a tale it may be, the truth is far from it. To continue on with the true events that took place for Mondstadt to gain its freedom, I'll be returning the stage back to nostalgia.
The events leading to Vennessa fighting for her freedom contains no misinformation. And indeed, by the mercy of the Archon of Anemo was she saved from the grasp of death. However, the tale of Mondstadt regaining its freedom does not end there, for what followed went on much longer and got even darker. The Archon of Anemo, Barbatos, planned a ruse that would cause the entirety of Mondstadt to fall into panic. He forged a contract which brought to light an agreement between the aristocrats of Mondstadt and the Archon of Geo. The contents of the said contract revealed plans to sell Mondstadt as a whole to the city of Liyue. As this information spread around Mondstadt like wildfire, heavy unrest began spreading around the city. The Starlit Knights that once obeyed the commands of the aristocracy were now in fear of themselves becoming slaves like the ones they had handled. Having oppressed and abused the enslaved citizens of Mondstadt for so long, they themselves were best aware of what fate lay in wait for them were Mondstadt to fall into the hands of Liyue. As such, in fear of being enslaved, the knights that once barked at the commands of the nobles turned around and attacked their masters. With the people of Mondstadt uniting under a single banner, they were able to vanquish the threat of the Lawrence. Of course, much later, it was found out that the contract was mere forgery and not of true substance. But the truth that was revealed in light of the situation put on display the darkness and fragility of human nature. Vennessa was an individual of marvelous character. She led the forces that brought to an end the tyranny of the noble. But in the end, what truly made the difference and forced the people of Mondstadt to gather under a single banner was not the desire for a city of freedom. Instead, it was out of fear and the need to protect one's own interests. The songs sung today mention not these nasty rhymes. Instead, they glorify the end result and celebrate good times. It's a past not too pretty. As such, it gets swept under the rug.
But such is the cycle of mortal life. Peace begets desire, and desire begets greed. Greed leads to conflict, and conflict destroys peace. Conflict creates suffering, and suffering demands change. Change calls for revolution, and revolution bestows peace. This cycle will repeat for all living creatures. Such is the fate of all that are mortal.
And with that, we've reached the end of this video. If you've only seen this video, then I urge you to go on to KlemenTime's channel. If you enjoy my videos, then I'm sure you will absolutely love his videos as well. I recommend going through the Genshin Impact lore playlist on my channel. It won't take you too long, and if you enjoy learning about the lore of Genshin Impact in the form of an epic story, I'm sure you'll love the videos on my channel. So if you like the video, consider leaving a like and sharing it with your friends. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when another video like this gets released on the channel. I hope to see you guys in the future, and until then, I'll see you guys later.